Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Hamidah Putri Hardini from class 3 TBIC. I made this video to fulfill my final assignment for speaking course. In this section, I will present question with answer, and I will also explain the summary of the material that I have made on the topic of when the pandemic is over. 1. How did the pandemic spread? Answer. In the first, government and communities do nothing to help and spread and instead allow people to be exposed as quickly as possible. Without time to study the virus, doctors know little about how to save their patient, and hospitals reach peak capacity almost immediately. Somewhere in the range of millions to hundreds of millions of people die either from the virus or the collapse of healthcare system. Soon, the majority of people have been infected and either perished or survived by building up their immune response. Around this point here, immunity kick in, where the virus can no longer find new hosts, so the pandemic fizzles out a short time after it began. 2. What is the easy way to prevent this virus from spreading according to WHO? Answer. There's another way to create herd immunity without such a high cost of life. Let's reset the clock to the moment the WHO declared this pandemic. This time, government and communities around the world slowed the spread of the virus to give research facilities time to produce a vaccine. They buy this crucial time through testing that may include widespread testing to identify carriers, quarantining and infect and people they interacted with, and physical distancing. 3. What are the strategies expressed by the speaker in overcoming the pandemic? Answer. According to the speaker, they have 3 main options. 1. Restrict it, and 2. Delay and vaccinate, or the coordinate and cars. 1 is widely considered best, and it may not be the one you think. 4. When will WHO declare a pandemic according to the speaker? Answer. The WHO will likely declare the pandemic over once the infection is mostly contained and rate of the transmission drops significantly throughout the world. 5. What are the factors of the pandemic that are destroying the life of the wider community? Answer. According to the speaker, there are several factors that pandemic cause in life, namely starving virus everywhere through a combination of quarantine, social distancing, and travel restriction. Next, I will explain the summary of the material that I have made. An infection virus that is highly contagious and sometimes kills humans for the first time. It spread rapidly around the world, and the WHO declared a pandemic. The death toll is starting to rise, and everyone is asking the same question: when will the pandemic end? Alex Rosenthal detailed 3 main strategies government can use to contain and prevent a pandemic, which is restrict it, delay and vaccinate, or coordinate and destroy. Government and communities around the world are slowing the spread of the virus to allow time for facilities to produce vaccine. They need this critical time through tactic that might be existent to widespread testing to identify carriers, quarantining infection people and those they interact with and maintain physical distancing. So which strategies is best for this deadly and contagious respiratory virus? Racing through it is a quick fix would be a global disaster and might not work at all if people could be reinfected. Destroying a virus through coordination alone is also attractive because of its speed, but it can only be relied on with real and almost impossible global cooperation. That's why aid by as much global coordination as possible is generally considered a winner. It's a slow, steady, and risk-proven option even if the pandemic officially ends before a vaccine is ready. The virus can repair seasonally, so the vaccine will continue to protect humans, and while it might take years to create, the disruption to most people's life won't last for its full duration. Breakthrough in treatment and prevention can make the virus much less dangerous and therefore require less extreme containment measures. Okay, now we enter the second part of the video where this time I will present the topic of when will pandemic be over, which I took from another search. Okay, let's discuss together. In this first slide, I will explain about what is a pandemic. A pandemic is an epidemic that has spread to various continents and countries, generally affecting many people. While the epidemic itself is a term that has been used to determine that sudden increase in the number of cases of a disease in a population of a certain area. The reason is the term pandemic is not used to indicate the high level of a disease, but only shows the level of its spread. Please note, in the case of the COVID-19 pandemic, this is the first and is caused by the coronavirus, which has existed since the end of the last year. Before the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2009, a virus called swine flu broke out. This disease can occur when a new influenza strain are spread to all parts of the world, including Indonesia. Spokesperson for the COVID-19 vaccination of the Ministry of Health, Siti Nadia Tarmizi, said the end of the COVID-19 pandemic was very difficult to predict. The reason is, when conditions in Indonesia are getting under control, the Omicron variant reappears, which is a combination of various mutation of the COVID-19 variant. For this reason, Nadia said the Ministry of Health implement a number of pandemic control policies such as COVID-19 vaccination, 3. Testing, tracing, and treatment, and 3M health protocols, wearing masks, washing hands, and maintaining distance, and reducing mobility to anticipate increase in COVID-19 cases. We must continue to implement this policy because we cannot predict when this pandemic will end, but we will continue to make effort towards it. We can see that our health situation continue to improve, meaning that various activities are usually carried out, and this is important for where Indonesia as the G20 presidency can show good condition, Nadia said during a product dialogue entitled Resilient and Optimism Toward 2022. When will the COVID-19 pandemic end? Epidemiology said there are two scenarios. From Griffith University, Australia, Diki Budiman said there were two scenarios regarding when the COVID-19 pandemic would end. First, the pandemic scenario will end at the end of 2022, or worst scenario, the new pandemic will end in 2025. Currently, we are still at the top, although there is a downward trend, but it is not clear what the trend will be. It hasn't really led to control, he said when contacted by Business Friday. Also read epidemiology, Diki Budiman say it's most likely Omicron has entered in Indonesia. It is said that the global COVID-19 pandemic is currently in the third wave of the world. Diki revealed that later there will be three categories: control and endemic of epidemic. Endemic doesn't mean harmless. The only difference is that threshold. For example, dengue fever, if the threshold is exceeded, could become a big epidemic. This is what we need to avoid, he said. Diki reminded of the long COVID-19 effect. It can be estimated that economically there will be a burden in the next 5 until 10 years after the COVID-19 pandemic. There will be a long follow-up impact which can be in the next 10 until 20 years, he added. This is the last slide. Over the past 2 years since the pandemic spread, many people were predicting when this would end. Not to mention the father of Microsoft, Bill Gates, who also gave the latest prediction. He said the pandemic could end in mid-2022, but this is with a note: there are no dangerous variants that appear again in the future. For Gates, ending the pandemic doesn't mean eradicating COVID-19 completely. On the other hand, he said the world could definitely bring it down to a very small number by the end of 2022. By then, the COVID-19 infection rate would drop below the sensational flu level. Death and infection rates have fallen quite dramatically because of natural immunity, vaccine, and oral medication, Bill Gates said at the Bloomberg New Economic Forum. Unfortunately, recently the Omicron variant has spread in a number of countries around the world. This variant has been designated as a variant of concern, or VOC, by WHO. Bill added the problem that must be solved is the issues of vaccine. The supply will be complete next year, but another problem is the way the vaccine is distributed. Vaccine is very good news, and big problem will be overcome by the middle of next year, but logistic and demand must be overcome, he said. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.